Time for a daring Marvel return. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 2 of Daredevil. And this has been a long time coming. It was back in 2022 that I reacted to the first episode as a first impression. And I just have not gotten around to getting back to this series yet. But I thought it was finally time. I thought it was finally time to get back to this, to give this a continued shot, and see how this goes. Now, with the first episode, we got our introduction to Matt Murdock, how he, was blinded as a child, and how he's since become this lawyer working in Hell's Kitchen. He has his best friend, Foggy Nelson, and they take on the case of Karen Page, who ends up, I believe, at the end joining them. But we also get to see the criminal underworld in the first episode and see just how things with these different criminal groups are progressing and setting up for the future. I don't think we actually had Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in the first episode of that, but we know he's coming. I think he might have been briefly mentioned or alluded to, but I believe he wasn't shown. So since this, I think since this came out, we've seen Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in a couple other things. I believe these were all after I reacted to this. I believe. But he was in Spider-Man No Way Home and Spider-Man, or Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. He was in 2 different Spider-Man properties. He was in She-Hulk as well. He's even got a sequel series to this one called Daredevil. I can't remember what it's called. I don't remember. Brand New Day is the next Spider-Man, isn't it? Yeah, I can't think of it. You know what I mean, though. There's a new Daredevil series that's the follow-up to this one, and it's already got a season out. I think season 2 is set to come out maybe by the end of this year, maybe next year. I'm not 100% sure. But I haven't been paying a huge amount of attention to that because I still have to get through this one. And so yeah, I'm excited to see more of this because everything I've seen him play this character in, he's done a great job. I remember I did like the first episode of this, which is why it was, set to return in the future in the first place. And Daredevil is a character that I know a little bit about, but not a huge amount. And so I'm very interested to see more of him. And just kind of get into this vibe of things compared to other Marvel heroes. Though to be fair, I'm not huge into Marvel as I am with DC. But there's some Marvel heroes that I've always been a huge fan of, like Spider-Man and the X-Men and whatnot. So this is one of those that I've just never paid a huge amount of attention to for one reason or another. But hopefully this series kind of turns me around on that. Now, I know that Daredevil stories tend to be dark and everything. I don't know how dark this is going to end up getting. I don't know how intense it's going to be. I don't know how just aggressively violent it might get. We're just going to kind of have to play that by ear. And if I remember right, Matt doesn't even have his full Daredevil suit at this point in the series yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes into play too. Now I believe this is 3 seasons long, and I think each season is around 13 or so episodes. So not too difficult to get through. We shouldn't have too much of a problem with that. But we'll handle that when we handle that and see how it goes. And the last thing I do want to say here is if you are wondering why I'm wearing the same shirt that I was wearing yesterday for my Scavenger's Reign reaction, that's because while you're seeing this on Friday, I did record this on Thursday. Because Friday here in America, where I live, is Independence Day, the 4th of July. And while my family is not going to necessarily be celebrating that specifically, we're more celebrating my sister's birthday because her birthday's the 5th. We are going to be together, and I'm just not going to be able to record on Friday. So, although I can get this up on Friday and you can see this then, it's like, yeah, it's just one of those cases where it's not going to be able to work in terms of excuse me, in terms of recording. So I just had to record a day early, no big deal. But just letting you know. So, all of that being said, let's just get into this episode and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So yeah, while Foggy and Karen are definitely having a fun time getting drunk and, just goofing around, we have Matt going through some pretty crazy shit, dealing with his injuries, having to work alongside Rosario Dawson's character here, Claire, and dealing with a fake cop and the Russian mob and all this crazy shit. Having to take down this entire group of people while injured just to save this kid, which is the only right thing to do in this situation. He's got to save the kid. But, God, it's definitely not going to help with his injuries. Good thing he got the address for where Claire's going to be staying. And during all this, we also see, the last days he spent with his father after he got blinded. All the guilt his father had for, the way that Matt had to be raised and the situations around. And even with the fact that he hated losing because his son looked up to him so much, and he wanted to give his son one big victory. And he succeeded. He gave his son one final thing to be proud of, knowing that it would cause him to be killed. And made sure that the money would be put in an account under Matt's name so he would be taken care of. He sacrificed everything for his son. And I feel like there's a lot of people who could make an argument he could have just been there for him anyway and just accepted the loss, and I think Matt would have just rather had him be there. And yes, absolutely true. Matt he adored his father, and I think he would have been okay with his father continuing to lose as long as he was just there. But it's very clear that his father also had very little hope in their entire situation and in the continuance of everything that he himself was going through. he wanted to give he wanted to give his son a better life, and wanted to make sure that Matt would be able to get out of the situation he was in. And he couldn't think of a better way to do it. He was just in the wrong position to be able to do anything else for him at that moment that would truly put him into a better position in life. And I'm not going to blame someone who himself is a murder victim here, as well as, a victim of circumstances. And I don't think Matt would ever blame him either, or accept anyone else trying to blame him. But Matt also wishes his father just stayed. And just wishes his father, toughed it out and remained with him. There's a lot of trauma that came from that. I mean, on top of already being blinded and everything. All the, pains and struggles he's been through. It's why he has this, extremely strong sense of justice. He's been through so much. His father went through so much. And he wants to make sure that others don't have to. He wants to keep these mobs and whatnot, these criminal gangs, from being able to put people in the position that he and his father were in. To use them and manipulate them and, hurt them. He has a vendetta against, criminals in general because of that. And you could tell with how he acts in this episode, in regards to Claire, in regards to this fake cop. He's willing to do anything to clean this city, this neighborhood up. He wants to clean up Hell's Kitchen and make it so that people can be safe here. And if he sacrifices his life for that, he's okay with it. Which is, equal parts noble and crazy. Because it's, it's just a very complicated, idea. And it's really hard to say, what's right in that situation. But it's you also see that he doesn't want to get other people involved because he doesn't want to put them in danger. He wanted to avoid, Claire, getting involved in any kind of way. He even continues to hide his name. He would rather do this alone, so only he's at risk. And with, this kid having been kidnapped, he's, he feels the situation is more dire because of that, which, fair. And it's just, he's going through a lot that very much is affecting his just overall rationale. He's not thinking rationally. He's not. Matt is very clearly an emotional person. And it's very clear that, he does let that control him to a degree. And it doesn't, completely take him over to the point where he becomes, corrupted by it. But he has a hard time, kind of just being a regular person. Because of all of the pain he holds within him. He's, so traumatized and so, just fucked up because of everything that happened to him, that he doesn't really know how to live a happy life. And a lot of superheroes, especially ones who veer more towards anti-heroes like this, tend to kind of act this way. Batman, Wolverine, a lot of these heroes who do a lot of crazy shit and take things very far sometimes, and even if they don't kill, they'll like be willing to maim and hurt people to get what they need. It's like a lot of them have a lot of pain from their past. It's a trope in its own right. And it's like you don't want to see them go through that, to put them through this kind of hell and pain just to do what's right. But it does make a compelling story, you have to admit. And the interesting thing, like, to notice here as well is this episode, I would say this episode did not truly feature, in the current day, not counting the flashbacks, but in the current day, did not truly feature Matt Murdock. He was Daredevil the entire time in the current day. Because this took place over the course of, like, what, a matter of hours in a single night? And not once do we actually see him in the current day as Matt Murdock, as just himself, as a lawyer. It's definitely got a darker vibe than what I remember from episode 1. And given the circumstances, it makes sense. But we also know that these actions will have repercussions that'll continue forward. And so while Foggy and Karen are, doing pretty well, will Matt even be okay to arrive at the office in the morning? And if he does, will he be able to hide all of his injuries from Foggy and Karen? I'm genuinely wondering, like, when and if they find out about this all. Because they don't know currently. But will they find out within the 3 seasons of this show? Or will they find out, like, in the second show? I don't know. Genuinely. And I don't think either of them are even mentioned in any of his other Marvel appearances. I don't think they're mentioned in She-Hulk. I don't think they're mentioned in his brief appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. And he doesn't mention anything regarding personal life and stuff in his small appearance in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, because he only appears there as Daredevil and only just has that small interaction with Peter about Norman Osborn and everything. So, yeah. Also, that was animated. That was also only a voice role, but it was still him. It was still Charlie Cox. This episode having the B-plot of Foggy and Karen going out and getting, like, white girl wasted, as well as just Foggy's charm and personality, was so needed, though, because otherwise this episode would have been a little too dark and a little too serious. The B-plot definitely added levity that was extremely needed to balance it out a little more. It was like otherwise very depressing and dark. Even with like the flashbacks, even when like Matt and his father were like joking and laughing with each other, it's like there was a big air of sadness to it. So it's just like it didn't really help. So the levity with Foggy and Karen was a great choice. It was just really smart to add that in as a form of levity. But yeah, like, it's been 3 years since I reacted to that first episode, and I feel like I'm back in it. This is definitely one of those shows that I'm really glad I have at the end of the week. I think this is the right placement for this, because it's like, I can have this be the last show I react to each week, and I can just, like, kind of like go off from there and have my weekend to like just like decompress from the depression that this show kind of deals with a lot, it seems. Because if I had this on a Monday, it's like it would fuck with me. Even a Tuesday, it's like it would definitely like upset me a lot and really affect my ability to continue through the week with other reactions. Um, it would end up probably being like a Doom Patrol situation where I would get like very upset by the series to the point where I would probably either put it on hold a bunch of times or drop it. Um, so it's good that it's on Fridays, and it's good that this is I'm starting this the same week as Dandadan season 2, because Dandadan is so infectiously energetic that it gives a good balance as well to have something that like more fun and just crazy and weird, balancing out the intensity of this series. So it's like this wasn't even planned, by the way. That was just a happy coincidence. It just worked out that it just is such a good pairing for the end of the week here. So I think we'll be good. And if I do need to take a break in like the middle of the season and whatnot, we can handle that when we get to that. If it ends up just becoming a little bit much for me, um, because there are times where like I can get very overwhelmed by really heavy shit. So if it does become a little much, like we'll probably just do it like halfway between or halfway in the season, like I don't know, episode 6 or 7 or so. But we'll touch on that only if we get to that point. Hopefully, I'll be able to handle it. Hopefully, with the balance and everything, and with it being at the end of the week, that'll help. But we'll tackle that hopefully never, but if we have to in the future. Um, yeah, I'm really glad to be back to this though, because this is something I like. I really did want to continue watching, and so although it is very, dark and very emotional and very intense and very upsetting, it's like it's also very enthralling. It very much like grabs my attention and makes me want to see more. It just it's a lot as well. So, like even though this week I'm getting to it on Thursday, again, it's the last day of me recording for the week anyway. You're still seeing this on Friday just because of how the schedule with this week has to work out due to Independence Day here in America. But it's like it's still amongst the last things I'm recording this week either way. It works out. So that being said, I'm hoping for the best going forward in terms of this series, and I hope that they continue to add in this levity. I also don't know what other characters are gonna be in this. Um, like if it's just gonna be like these Daredevil characters and Kingpin and stuff, or if there's gonna be like other comic characters. Isn't like I believe Bullseye was in the Daredevil movie, the Ben Affleck one. I wonder if he's gonna appear in here. Because I know Bullseye was also in the MCU, right? Wasn't he in Winter Soldier? I think. So I could believe Bullseye could appear in here. I think that would be a good villain. I don't know a lot of Daredevil villains though. That's the problem. Like I'm not very like I said, I'm not very versed in this character. Oh, here will Elektra appear? That's a question. Because Elektra's connected to Daredevil. Will she appear at all? I don't know. I don't know enough. But that also makes this exciting because I get to learn. Um so tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode 2 of Daredevil? And thank you so much as always for tuning in. Please, no spoilers for this or for the second series. I do wish to remain spoiler free because I probably will do the second series as well if I continue to enjoy this enough. Um, Also, I think it's called Born Again, right? I think I remembered that like a second ago. Is it Daredevil Born Again? Is that what the second series is called? The newer one? Um, Either way, I'm very interested to see where this goes. So thank you once again so much for tuning in. I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.